ना दे रही है। हमको तो कुछ करने दूंगी, करते अभी से तुम। हेलो।
Yes, you are audible.
ज्वाइन कर दे। आ गया। हाँ, कर। जाएगा। फिर फूल हो जाएगा, बोलो ना।
इस खेल में वित्त जोखिम का हाँ हाँ वो सफल चुका है, सफल अटक गया। ऐसे
अरे काय यार
जैसे ये कर रहे हैं सबको।
आ जाएगा।
योग गाड़ी येते लगवायची
हेलो। यस मैम, आप ऑनलाइन हो जाएं। डॉक्टर भारती नायक मैम।
हो चुका है उनका। Should we start? Hello. Am I audible, Chandan ji?
यस मैम, आप ऑडिबल हैं।
Should I start?
यस मैम।
Fine. Sudhir ji is there today?
नो मैम, सुधीर जी नहीं है आज।
Okay, fine. Okay. Namaskar. Very warm good evening to all of you, those who have joined this session, and hearty welcome to all the Sahodaya members, those who are really organizing the session for the teachers to complete their training session for this session by the month of March. And at the same time, a very grand and warm welcome to all the participants or the teachers and the educators, those who have joined today for this session. I hope all of you are known to the content, the topic we are going to have the discussion in today's meeting. That is curriculum, learner-centered pedagogy, learning outcomes, and inclusive education. Before I proceed, I just would like to know from you. I would like to brief you about the session That is what kind of session we are going to continue, though we have already crossed 10 minutes. We have less time, but I hope definitely we can complete many things. So this is an interactive section. All of you can participate either through chat box, can raise hand. You could be given the chance to speak. And we are using the Mentimeter. And when you are not able to access the Mentimeter, please use the chat box. So that could be convenient to know each other or to discuss about the as we need. So the learner center measure, everybody knows this is, we are following the education system what we are today. The schools and society at large have a shared values system based on their shared positive human values, which can provide the growing generation a clear sense of direction and committed vision about how to create a stable and moral world community. As a school, we must have to know the prime responsibilities, what we need to do, or the kind of education or the teaching learning system we are following, what exactly it is going to have the learning output of that we are assessing. Being the teachers or the educators, we must have to understand the need of present generation. As our topic is also about the inclusive education, that also we will focus the importance of inclusive education or the normal education what we are continuing with the day, what is the importance of both. So what is the focus of learner centered curriculum? As we discussed about the curriculum, I would like to emphasize here what Swami Vivekananda said, education is not the amount of information that is put into your brain and runs right there, undigested all of your life. We must have life building, man making, character making, assimilation of ideas. If you have assimilated 5 ideas and made them your life and character, you have more education than any man who has got by heart a whole library. So we must have to focus the what exactly we are giving them in the within the confined wall of the classroom. So in ancient times, which had emphasized the building of character of students, till recently, children were learning from observing the values or practiced at home and in social life. Since independence, a number of high-powered commissions and committees on education have highlighted the urgent need for making our educational system more valuable and more sociable. So we need to focus on both the normal and inclusive education as well. If our focus is the learner-centered curriculum or we are the teacher-centered curriculum. So it is a method what is called the learner-centered curriculum if we discuss. It is a method of teaching that shifts the focus of instruction from teacher to the student. We obviously are, if we consider the traditional education system or the teaching practice in the classroom, we most of the time try to focus on the completion of the syllabus what is designed for the session. So sometimes it is being only focused on the teacher oriented or what is a lecturer method we are completing the class. But here is a learner centered curriculum defines that it must have to be transparent, must have to be transacted from teachers to the student. Here the aim is to develop the independence of the learner by making learner active in his learning path. It focuses on skills that enable lifelong learning and independent problem solving. This is the purpose of the learner-centered curriculum. Similarly, what is a learner-centered pedagogy? We must have to define the kind of teaching learning process we are following in the schooling or in our classroom. Learner-centered pedagogy views learners as active participants in their own learning, with their education shaped by their interest, prior knowledge, and active investigation. In spite of its prominence in education policies, implementation has been challenging and changes to classroom practice limited. It is our prime objective now, if we are going to evaluate the students based on their learning achievement or what is the output after deliverance of the entire session, a teacher must have to be very, very reflective and very pragmatic in his or her assessment. So there are certain characteristics of learner-centered experiences which a teacher or an educator must have to be evaluated, must have to adopt. This is here you can see this. This is the personal agency, inquiry, collaboration, authentic, goals, accountability, productive struggle.
विकास जी
Education subject के साथ है. Continue. Hello. Am I audible?
यस मैम आपकी आवाज आ रही है अभी
Sorry. Yes, okay. So, sorry for the inconvenience. There was a network error. So, once Gandhiji dreamed India in which every individual discovers and realizes her or his talents, potentials by working with others towards reconstructing, restructuring the world, which be characterized conflicts between nations, within society, and between humanity and nature. The purpose of taking this view is that we must have to imbibe something in our children, that they must have to involve themselves, should have inquisitiveness in them, should have query, should question. Once they are not putting any question, that means we are failure to imbibe something in their mind. As Galileo said, you cannot teach students anything. You can only help them find it for themselves. We are the resource persons there. We are the resources there for the children. We can only so to feed themselves, to get it, the child must have to be certain things in his or her mind to ask. Inquisitiveness, inquiry, and lot of questions. Then he and she can reach to that level to have the thought or could have the argument about his or her need, which means that through evaluation, the student should have a better understanding past experiences, education, and ideas. And this impacts how they take on board new information and to learn. These things we must have to imbibe in them. So now the question comes, nowadays it is not only the particular kind of schools we are following where it is called the education is for the inclusive education or the inclusive curriculum. So what is inclusive curriculum? If we come to know, an inclusive curriculum may be defined as one which provides all students regardless of background and immutable characteristics with an equal opportunity to achieve the learning outcomes of their program. You can have a look. What is inclusive education? Where all students, regardless of any challenges they may have, are placed in age appropriate general education classes that are in their own neighborhood schools to receive high quality instruction, interventions, and supports that enable them to meet success in the core curriculum. So there are the certain features we must have to undertake all these things into inclusive education system in our schools. That is research, teachers, parents, and strategies. What are the researches? Many studies over the past 3 decades have found that students with disabilities have higher achievement and improved skills through inclusive educations. Sometimes we ignore the students or the children, those are having some problem, either physically or partially some kind of their behavioral problem. We try to avoid them, neglect them in our normal school system. But in inclusive education, what the right they have, they are learning. It is found they are benefited a lot. We found even there are some children who are the high achievers even than the normal children. So the major role of the teachers are equally turns or takes a challenge there. Teachers with more experience and in the case of teachers more training with inclusive education were significantly and more positive about it. Teachers must have to be a resource for the children to adopt them as a normal child and provide them the proper education as we are giving it to the normal child. Responsibility of the parents as equal on an average. Parents were somewhat uncertain if inclusion was a good option for their children, but the more experience with inclusive education they had, the more positive parents of this group were about it. So strategies must have to be maintained. Use a variety of instructional formats. Ensure access to academic curricular content. Apply universal design for learning. Why it is called the universal design for learning? So that it could be easily accessible to both kind of students in the classroom, either the normal or the child is from the different background or the different disabilities. So what is curriculum and inclusive education? Both together means education of all students, where all students are equal participants in the learning process. It is the right time to upgrade and make more concentration on the development of curriculum for inclusive education, both for teachers and the children with special needs. Here I would like to bring certain discussions before you all. I wish you to participate. Can you tell me any movies name which you have seen the even in the early little past, which speaks us about the teachers' involvement to uplift this kind of children? I could give you the hint. Here I can use the Mentimeter, please. All of you can check your chat box and give a single word. I can give you the hint. The child was struggling with dyslexia, and where the teacher was taking much initiative. Tare Zameen Par. Wow, great. It's really made my day. Was given it. It's very nice to see Tare Zameen Par. Thank you. Can you tell me the name of the child who was the prime concern in that movie? What was the role? Tare Zameen Par. Ishan. Fine. Thank you. Thank you. It's nice. Can any of you could tell me the name of the teachers who has taken much initiative? Can any of you tell me who is the teacher? What is the name of the teacher in that movie who has taken initiative for his son? Yeah, great. It's really helpful. It is Ramanuj, no? Any of you? Please try. Bright. What is the name of the teacher? I just want to know the name of the teacher who helped the boy Ishan to come out from his own feelings that he can't do. And he did it wonderfully. Should I help you? Okay, can you tell the name of the actors who played this role as the teachers? Can you? Any of you can tell that actors, so definitely you might be knowing. If you didn't remember the character he played, Amir Khan, great, Amir Khan. Consecutively, 3-4 movies at the same time being released and become very popular. Amir Khan played the role as a teacher, art teacher, whose name was in this movie was Nikund. I hope you must now recall Nikum and could see what are the things he has been taken initiative for this boy Ishan to just make him realize his parents that he can do, or the way he was being neglected by his early teachers and even his parents. They lost the hope that Ishan perhaps could do anything, and he has just proven it. Yes, Ishan can do wonder, and he did it. Thank you very nicely you have done. So this is Ishan was suffering from, he was struggling with what? Can you again? He was struggling with dyslexia. Ishan was a boy was suffering with dyslexia. I hope everybody might be knowing dyslexia. I'll come again in the further discussions. So here, let us discuss about the overview of the module. What is the meat of this training of today? The purpose of the module is to help teachers and teacher educators relook at the diversity existing in the classrooms. Why do I mention diversity? Because we are talking about now the inclusive classrooms, inclusive educations. Adopt pedagogies that are most suitable to make classrooms and teaching learning inclusive. The suggestions given in the module are based on research and experiences to meet the different learning needs in the same class. You must be knowing that If a child can't learn the way we teach, maybe we should teach the way they learn. Every teacher must have to adopt this concept. If I am not able to reach any child in my class, I must have to make myself so flexible. The way the child wants to reach me, I must have to go for that. If every teacher is ready to adopt this concept, we are able to turn ourselves in as per the level of the child, as the expectations of the child. Definitely you are a creator, great teacher, and you really is able to do wonder. All equal, all different, because nobody is alike, all are unique. So we need to believe in them. They are not alike, they are unique. Like Ishan was a unique boy in his class. Similarly, what is the learning objectives of the module? This module will help teachers describe the educational policies, the national curriculum frameworks development, and the functions and the linkages among intended, transacted, and assessed curriculum. Explain perspectives of the national curriculum framework of 2005 and its translation into syllabi and textbooks. Develop a richer understanding of diversity and acquire those attitudes for promoting inclusive education. Strengthen existing skills to improve children's learning outcomes using appropriate pedagogies. Use and adopt learning activities that foster gender sensitivity classroom environment. Let us focus on these terminologies, policies, and frameworks. This is the national education policy, which is in now, I think, since last 2 years, 1.5 years, we all are accustomed with this very familiar word NEP 2020. So this NEP has focused many things, though it has not come to us till date to the limelight that what exactly we are going to do, but it has defined many things where a teacher's role is major and must have to accept or adopt the changes what is expected as per the need of the present generation or the youngsters. So national education policy, it starts from the textbooks, curriculum, national curriculum framework, teacher support material, syllabus, and learning outcomes. Everything is there focused on the learning outcomes. So when we talk about the learning outcomes, we definitely must have to centralize on learner. Who are the learners here and how, what are the things we need to really do for that so that we can reach the target we fixed for, what we are called the learner centered approach. So here are the learner means it is collaboration, creation, reflection, accountability, inquiry, discussion. It is all together. The learner must have to involve with this teaching learning process in the classroom, and they must have to be very reflective. They must have to be inquisitive, taking the responsibilities they need to do and learn, and the teachers must have to involve them for the discussion so that they could create their own world in themselves. So here there are the other terminologies how it is being developed. All of you are very familiar, I hope so. National education policy, then the national curriculum framework, then curriculum, then syllabus, textbooks, teacher support material, and learning outcomes. It has been started that new education policy time to time has been changed. It is this time new education policy 2020 was after 34 years being changed. Here 1968 there was a change, then 1986 and 1992, and here again in 1919 implemented in 2020. So this national curriculum framework, you can see this on your screen, which is completely defined, elaborates the time and what time and when, what are the things we have been changed or we have been adopted the new education policies time to time. So now everything, every time we go for changes, there is the focus on, that is the learning outcomes of the children. And the national policy on education 1986 states Making children sensitive to the environment and the need for its protection is another important curricular concern. The emergence of new technological choices and living styles witnessed during the last century has led to environmental degradation and vast imbalances between the advantaged and disadvantaged. It was the National Policy on Education 1986. And what is the NCF 2005 states? These elements will cut across subject areas and will be designed to promote values such as India's common cultural heritage, age literalism, democracy and secularism, equality, protection of environment, removal of social barriers, and observance of small family norm and inculcation of scientific temper. So all educational programs will be carried on the strict conformity with secular values. India has always worked for peace and understanding between nations, treating the whole world as one family. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is always the concept. So according to this NCERT framework for this, the diverse and rich cultural heritage that we are so fortunate to inherit in our country is in many ways symbolic of the foundation and wellspring of values from the which we draw our values nourishment. So what I want to focus you is the inclusive education. We must have to keep certain things in our mind. What do these terms mean to us? One is curricular expectations, learning process, learning outcomes, and how are these terms linked to each other? These are the terms which are linked to each other: curricular expectations, discipline specific or grade specific, learning objectives, content based and used to bring out curricular expectations of each content area, will be specific learning objectives, pedagogical processes which help achieve learning as per objectives, involves creating a learning environment and experience using various learning sources and to provide different learning experiences. Similarly, the learning outcome, not content specific, can be used for learners in any context. That should be the objective which you need to focus on the children. That should be the classroom must have to be the children or the learner centered approach. The teacher must have to involve the students in each and every affair of the content deliverance in the class. So towards achieving learning outcomes, we have to keep certain things in the mind which the learners have to be provided with opportunities to work in pairs, groups, individually, to observe and explore the immediate surroundings, record and expense them in oral, written, drawings, gestures, to discuss with the elders and visit different places, collect information from them on the topic of their choice and discuss their findings in the groups. So here we need to give the chance to the students to involve and to create and to find out their own solution if they are finding any problem. We need to involve them in a discussion. We need to send them to the outsides, as I hope most of the schools or all of you might be sending the students as the study tour certain places, and definitely you are asking them many questions and trying to know from them what is the learning outcomes they have or the findings in the group, and what did they learn in as the group learning or the individual learning by there. Here I wish could watch for certain things, that is towards achieving learning education for all. The prime concern of the teachers must have to focus on this education for all. I hope you will enjoy this video. Okay. So I hope this video definitely help you a lot to understand the inclusive type of schools and the responsibility of the teachers, what we need to create the environment for the children. So here I would like to take you to a different world, giving you some example. I hope might be some of you heard this story earlier. That is the animal school, a fable to reflect on classroom process. Once upon a time, the animals decided they must do something heroic to meet the problems of a new world. So they organized a school. They had adopted an activity curriculum consisting of running, climbing, swimming, and flying. I am telling you the stories. I just wish all the participants to listen carefully. Thereafter, we will follow the Mentimeter. There is some questionnaire. So please be attentive. So they had adopted an activity curriculum consisting of running, climbing, swimming, and flying. To make it easier to administer the curriculum, all the animals took all the subjects. Because now we are also teaching all the subjects in the classrooms. So here the animals also decided to make it easier or to administer. The curriculum is decided all the animals to all subjects. The dog was excellent in swimming. In fact, better than his instructor. But he made only passing grades in flying and was very poor in running. Since he was so slow in running, he had to stay after school and also drop swimming in order to practice running. This was kept up until his webbed feet were badly worn and he was only average in swimming. But average was acceptable in school, so nobody. I'm not getting the slides. Yes. So, but average was acceptable in school, so nobody worried about that except the dog. The rabbit started at the top of the class. Is it stopped? The rabbit started at the top of the class in running but had a nervous breakdown because so much makeup work in swimming. Similarly, what happened to the next? Let us see. The squirrel was excellent in climbing until he lost interest as his teacher made him start from the ground up instead of the tree top down. He was made to exert and then got a C in climbing and a D in running. The eagle was a problematic child, and was disciplined severely. In the climbing class, he beat all the others to the top of the tree, but was not liked as he insisted on using his own way to get there. At the end of the year, an abnormal eel that could swim exceedingly well and also run, climb, and fly a little had the highest average and was the winner. The prairie dogs stayed out of school and fought the administration as they would not add digging and burrowing to the curriculum. So what I want to tell you is here are some questions for you. Means this is the time to think what exactly we are doing. Whether we are trying to see the excellence potential in existing in the child or we are just trying to dig them up what is we planned as the curriculum or the strategies we made for the class. Why did the animals, hereafter I wish you to use the Mentimeter. Why did the animals take the same subjects? Did they all benefit? Average in all subjects, did this suit all the animals? Why do you think the squirrel was not allowed to fly down from the treetop? Why was the eagle seen as a problem child? I want this answer, or everybody must have to give. Why was the eagle seen as a problem child? And why do you think the prairie dog wanted digging and burrowing added to the curriculum? Use the Mentimeter, please. At least give one word for this. I would like to know from you all now, what was the core curriculum designed on that school, animal school? Can any of you? What was the curriculum being designed in the animal school? Good behavior, climbing, yes, climbing, any more? Climbing, then after? Please do not write the name here only. Very interesting, very good session. That is, I asked, this is the 4 curriculum being designed in the animal school. Yes, one was the climbing. I am helping you out. There is another one is the running. Annotation request coming several times. I would like to request you all, please do not ask for this. We are running up the short time. Yes, running, climbing, then swimming. Nobody has written it is swimming. You all are giving the very effective. Can we really go for this? Did you really find any girl in your class and you have assigned him for the swimming? The purpose is to tell you this story is to find out either the eagle, dog or the squirrel in the classroom and try to help them in grow in their areas. Instead of helping them, instead of forcing them to go where they are not able to perform well, that should not be the prime objective of their learning. Rather, we need to focus what is exactly they can do wonder. Their area, if the eagle could ask to fly only, I think nobody could be a competitor. But instead of flying only, he has been assigned other work, whereas he got himself hurt and could not perform even his own potential areas that he could fly well. Similarly, it is happened to all the animals. They do not perform well in their with their own potentialities. Rather, they suffered. So I want to just to know from you whether you are doing the same. Are you trying to just impose the things what you have designed, or what they need to do on their own and can excel in that area? That is the prime question before us nowadays. What exactly the purpose of new education policy, that even if the education system, the classroom teaching system needs to be changed. So we need to adapt the changes, or we need to go for the, or we need to accept whatever the challenges thrown before us, and we can just want to will excel the area that the child can be perform very, very well. So this is, look at yourself as a learner. You need to assess it in yourself whether and when and you can ask in the group, and the same strategy you can follow it in your classroom. What is it is given, I learn slowly, when they should give one, at least one reason when they are learning slow, whether it is not their interest area, they are not capable of, or they are not focusing on this, they do not understand many things they can write. If you feel you can just have this activities in your classroom. I learn quickly when learning from textbooks is, some are feeling easy, some are do not feeling easy. Learning in groups, I learn well from someone who I enjoy learning when. All these fill in the blanks is a task for you all to implement for yourself as well as for your children in the classroom. So the problem is not how to wipe out all differences, but how to unite with all differences intact. It is said by Tagore, we must have to find out the problem and then needs to find the solution, how to wipe out with all the differences, even in the inclusive educations. So school setting, that we must have to go for the school setting or the special education, what we call we are facing it is in the inclusive education system. Special education and a normal education. You can see in the picture that is the special child, they square pegs for square holes, special teachers and special schools. Normal education, normal child, round pegs for round holes, normal teachers, normal schools. So why these things? We need to just need to identify this. It is the inclusion, segregation, integration and inclusion. So which one you want to go for? Now we are at the fourth stage. We are not segregating the difference even with the irrespective of their differences. We are really there in the school where we are giving them the integrated learning as the inclusive, or it is the inclusion education, inclusive schooling. So here I wish you to watch once again. I hope you can enjoy this. The skill and approach. Looking at yourself as a learner and the skill and approach which
I made a square hole in
provided
the sheet
to
of
the
paper
students.
and a coaster, a circular coaster. I fold the paper in a mysterious fashion and I can pass the coaster through the hole. Really passes both directions, and I haven't started cheating, it really is going through the hole. And yet, when I put these out, the diameter of the coaster is bigger than the diagonal of the square hole. What is going on? I didn't stretch, let alone tear. And yet, when I fold the sheet back in a judicious way, the coaster does go through the coaster, which is bigger than the hole. How is this possible? I'm willing to give away the secret for free on this special occasion. It has to do with the interplay between the intrinsic or inner dimension of the sheet of paper, which is 2 dimensions, and the fact that the sheet evolves and flourishes in the ambient 3-dimensional space. There is some elbow room, there is some ambient space. So dimension 2 and dimension 3. In the following sense, first, I can fold the paper in the naive way like this, in which case the largest gap that I can try to pass the disk through is this gap. That used to be, as you can see, the diagonal of this square hole. And that was too small for the disk to pass through. But that's not the only thing that we do. Now I take this sheet of paper and start twisting it until those 2 sides get aligned into a straight line. And as I do this, as I twist the ends, you can see that the part of the paper starts rising above the floor. That's escaping into the 3rd dimension, taking advantage of the fact that there's extra room there. And when those 2 sides align completely, then I can squash and crease. And by the way, when I do that, I should shift by 1 in order to create this gap. Now, the gap that we have created then is this gap, which is larger than the previous gap because this gap used to be not the diagonal, but the sum of those 2 sides. And if you remember Pythagoras, you have gained an extra factor of square root of 2, which is a bit more than 40%. So the secret of success when you make this toy is to drill out a hole so that the diagonal is slightly shorter than the diameter of the disk, which is for surprise, but the sum of the 2 sides is slightly longer than this diameter. And that's possible because there's that extra window of 40%. And this is all possible because when we do this maneuver, you're allowing the whole thing to come out into 3D and then come back down. This fact that you can escape into the ambient 3rd dimension and come back in, this extra journey that you make into the extra degree of freedom gives you this wonderful magic.
Thank you for watching. I hope certain ideas and we must have been seen, that is that how we can utilize our skills and what should be our approach towards the different situations in the classrooms. So here is the diversity in the classrooms necessity changing the system to fit the needs of all children in regular schools. In regular schools, you can see there are the regular schools means which schools we are in. There are the all different kind of students are together. Other children, children with special needs, children from disadvantaged homes. And in special schools only, you could see the special children with special needs and few students from the disadvantaged homes. And no access to schools, where you must be knowing there are the certain agencies or the NGOs who are working for certain periods. They used to go for to take care of the special needs children in some places. So these are the temporary. So there is no access to the schools. They are not accessible to the schools. They are not getting any kind proper care or no proper education at any cost. So we are there in the first, that is in regular schools. We are taking care of each and everybody, whoever they are there in the inclusive educations. So school settings, it is must have to be the integrated education, and I hope still I have time. Change the child to fit the system, make the square playground, therapy rehabilitation system stays the same, child must adapt or fail. So we must have to understand what is the need of our classroom and how, where should we be very flexible. So where it is necessity, we need to go for the system to fit the child. Children are different, we must have to understand, because every child are not alike. You have to accept that they are different. All children can learn different abilities, ethnic groups, size, age, background, gender. So this is here inclusion is, there are the so many things we could focus on their needs continuously, celebrating diversity and individuality. We need to focus on just many policies, whatever we are as the room at the time we faced, that a teacher must have to face and designed, that is what he is going to do. Here is going to be 5 o'clock. I would like to request all the participants to bear with for 10 to 15 minutes more so that we could complete the session. Chandanji, may I? Are you getting me? Hello? Okay, fine. I just would like to request all the participants to bear with me for 10 to 15 minutes more so that we can conclude it. Here I would like to, again, I hope now you are very familiar with this. Can see what is
a
the
noun is a naming word, a pronoun is used instead of a noun, an adjective describes a noun, a verb describes the action of a noun, an adverb describes the action of a verb. A conjunction joins two sentences together, a preposition is used to describe the relationship between a noun and a pronoun, and an interjection is a word thrown in to express feeling. Have you got it, Mr. Ishan Nandakishore Avasthi? Why? Why can't you? Idiot! Why can't you?
हो अंडा क्यों रोज खाते डंडा
Wrong pathetic and spelling all wrong. अक्षर जो नाचे क्या खाई है ना? Idiot, dafar, lazy, crazy, idiot, dafar, lazy,
क्यों भाषा खराब क्यों ना देते जवाब
क्यों करती नहीं try? Why, but why can't you?
I hope you have enjoyed the videos and must be knowing now who is the son and what was the way he suffered. I just would like to know from you all, how many of you have met Ishan in your class? There might be many Ishans you find around you, and what do you exactly take care of them as the teacher? Why can't you? Are you coming on that category? Why can't you? Or else you are going to Nikum for Ishan. So the inclusive education means a system of education wherein students with and without disability learn together, and the system of teaching and learning is suitably adapted to meet the learning needs of different types of students with disabilities. Have you tried to address diversity in your teaching? As Ishan was there one example as a dyslexia child. And what kind of teaching skills, strategies, activities will you use to encourage equal participation of all learners in your class? As we are running with the time, so I'm not going to ask you many questions now. I just wish you to think over on this and implement it in your classroom while you are meeting any child like Nishant in your class. Another words. Same Nishant it is. I wish you to focus on the creativity the students, the children have, irrespective of their curriculum, what we design, what we try to imbibe, inculcate in them. More than that, they have their own world, own ideas, own thought, own imagination, and they are going to materialize it. Here again, Nishant with Nikum. I hope all of you are enjoying. Kindly bear with me for some time only. How many of us really focus on the creativity, the imagination the child has, or he can do something different, whatever we are giving them in the class more than that? How many of us really focus on this? Rather, we always focus on completing the task is assigned by the school head or is expected by the parents to be completed, either in the form of examination, result, marks, and etc. See the difference in a teacher like Nikum. Wow. He equally has the great challenge like us faced in age school. But apart from that, he took care what exactly Nishant can focus and can do. So my purpose is to tell you is once the argument is put forth, many ideas leading to questions are generated in the minds of students which need to be satisfied. In this process, the students connect their questions to answers by identifying and underlying themes and concepts, thus beginning and discussion. Every argument will have its own speciality and it well organized can boost in making the discussion effective or the involvement effective. What exactly Nikum did with Nishant, that he has given the opportunity to explore himself, what is there inside, which no other teacher earlier focused, nor they try to know, rather they every time discouraged and humiliate Nishant before others. So here the NCF 2005 guidelines, principles of NCF, I hope all of you can just go through it. Enriching, ensuring that learning is shifted away from rote methods, enriching the curriculum to provide for overall development of children rather than remain textbook centric, making examinations more flexible and integrated into classroom life, nurturing and overriding identify informed by caring concerns within the democratic policy of the country. So keeping this in view, we must have to design or must have to understand the today's teaching style or the teaching learning process which we need to follow. So the role of teachers in accepting and addressing diversities is a very major that must have to be in the learning outcomes includes sensitivity for identifying differences in learners and appreciating them, sensitize peers about strengths and weaknesses of children with disabilities, accepting socio-cultural and physical variations among learners, modifying the curriculum and learning environment to suit individual needs, ability to mobilize resources to provide options to the learner. That is very, very important for a teacher to go for, to provide the resources to the learners, to the students, so that they could be able to communicate themselves with the need or with their potential. Use of technology to support learning, ensure participation in the learning process and avoid comparing children. Support and facilitate the use of mobility aids, wheelchair, crutches, white cane, hearing aids, optical or non-optical aids, educational aids. There are so many. So providing additional time and selecting suitable mode of assessment, underlying of gendered and stereotypical attitudes, promote respect for the roles and all genders play in their families, communities, and the nation at large. This is major. We need to understand and respect irrespective of their any disabilities or disadvantages around. Promoting inclusive education in the transaction of disciplines, lack of general vocabulary, understanding the wordiness, distinguishing words with multiple meanings like interest, table, credit, angle, etc. Students who leave a speech read may face difficulties in distinguishing mathematical words. We need to help them. Mobility and manipulation skills, geographical terms and concepts. We must have to be very, very helpful or resourceful for the students to be very compatible with you or compatible and can be accessible themselves with you all. Promoting inclusive education in the transaction of disciplines. Regarding reading Braille text involves memorizing and synthesizing as a wholeness of phrases, sentence, etc. Providing need-based support for overcoming difficulties of access. Simplification of the language. Tactile material teaching aids for geometry, space to make calculations while solving sums, support in interpreting data in graphs, tables, or bar charts. Help with interpreting oral directions or making mental calculations as well. Inclusive education and linguistic and social diversities. It includes children are not born with any prescribed identities. Become aware of linguistic assumptions and know your linguistic backgrounds. Get to know students' linguistic backgrounds. That is important. Create classrooms flexible, accommodating multiple and diverse language uses. Where there is more than one language used in any area, use of the preferred majority language. This must have to be kept into concern of the teacher. So strategies for assessment in inclusive environments. There are so many things which a teacher needs to involve or to accumulate himself or herself for the assessment of the child. In a mixed ability group, encourage varied responses for question, give clear messages, pause after asking a question, give adequate time to respond. Activities done for explaining, allow flexibility, recognition, coloring, cut and paste. For responses requiring auditory processing, accept responses in monosyllables. Allow students with speech processing delays to demonstrate learning by use of pictures and stamps. So there are certain things we must have to keep it in our mind and categorize, segregate children, and to identify or label children as slow learners or bright students or problem children or the average learners, and what are the remedials we supposed to. We must have to enhance the remedial skill or the strategies in the teaching learning transaction. So discussion points divide into small groups. Each group has to discuss the following issues. How will you make your school more inclusive? How does inclusive education help children to stay with their families and communities? In what ways can this approach reduce discriminations? So to what extent does this approach strengthen teaching methods and improve the quality of education for all children? That is the prime objective of this discussion. So inclusivity beyond education. what are audio described films, as we have been seen many videos, and what way it is going to help us, and what we are learning out of the situation, that must have to be taken care in the classroom as well. So here are the accessibility in school curriculum. I just wish you to can even take the screenshot of this. I hope some of you might be knowing that what is the NCERT website. It is there also. NCERT developed Barkha, a reading series for all, is a supplementary reading series developed according to the principles of universal design for learning. It has 40 stories spread across 4 levels. I hope these are the Barkha reading series for all. If you have time, or you have these books in your school library, or even if you can get it from the website, so I just would like to request all the learners or the educators to must have to understand the concept or the stories being designed in Barkha, must have to read at least some series, so you would understand what is the purpose this Barkha is being designed by NCERT. So छुपम छुपाई से लेकर गिल्ली डंडा तक देर आर मतलब बहुत सारे कहानियां हैं। इसी कहानी के थ्रू हमको क्या मिल रहा है, बच्चों को हम क्या दे सकते हैं और हम अपने लिए क्या ले सकते हैं, ये बहुत बड़ी बात है। मैं तो इतना मानती हूँ, पुराने जमाने में जब भी हम लोगों की मतलब स्कूल भी नहीं थी, बिल्डिंग लाइक स्कूल नहीं थी, तभी ये जो शिक्षा थी ये दे रहे थे गुरुकुल आश्रम से लेकर चाहे वो ऋषि मुनि हो जो भी है, तो एक कहानी के माध्यम से जितने सारे मतलब एजुकेशन वो प्रोवाइड करते थे, आज हम उतने स्किलफुल होकर भी नहीं दे पा रहे हैं। अगर हम इतिहास को जाएंगे, देख पाएंगे हमारे जब भी द मोनार्की सिस्टम थी, तभी भी ये गुरुकुल की शिक्षा आज भी अहमियत रखती है हमारी जिंदगी में। सो लाइफस्टाइल इज चेंज्ड, बट स्टिल द एथिक्स एंड एजुकेशन वैल्यूज आर रिमेनिंग सेम, और मोर देन दैट वी मस्ट हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट। बरखा इज वन ऑफ द एग्जांपल ऑफ द सीरीज ऑफ एनसीईआरटी। आई विश यू ऑल एटलीस्ट गो थ्रू सम ऑफ द स्टोरीज फ्रॉम बरखा। Expected outcomes of this model. The model is an attempt towards enabling teachers and other stakeholders to use inclusive strategies and accept every child as a member belonging to the group, adopt attitude and skills, restructure the classroom. Participation of all students is very, very important, and to focus on practices in school to respond to the diversity of students. That is important. NCERT publications that I already told you, Barkha, including children with autism, autistic, I think if there is not much time, so or else I could give you some example. Autism, there was a serial coming before some few years on the TV, Antra. So if any of you have seen this, you could understand what is exactly we need to do with the autistic children. So even some of the students in our school, we found they are different, but we do not take care as required or as it is expected. But now in inclusive education, we must have to focus on all these things. So here are the some books at the end picturized. That is what exactly the Barkha or the NCERT developed some visual publications also, which is available on the website, and some also we can go for the site. This is the site link. Any of you can take the screenshot and can have it, watch it. So this Barkha, before I sum up, I must would like, as I promised, I'll take to you for 15 minutes, 2 minutes more I want from you. So the classroom environment should be very conducive for the children. A teacher must have to take care of all these things. A friendly classroom environment that is engaging and motivating is a must for inclusive education. One of the basic principles is creating a classroom environment free from excessive competition, threat, or ridicule to allow or unhampered creative expression. It is neither an environment dominated by an authoritarian teacher, nor it is an entirely unstructured environment. Rather, it aims at creating an emotional climate for students to experience a sense of feeling of personal worth, trust, dignity, and self-confidence, leading to self-discipline. That must have to be taken into concern while you are preparing, creating the classroom environment for the inclusive education. This implies that the students feel welcome into the classroom space and have a sense of ownership about its physical space and human component. They are able to form teams according to tasks assigned and work in cooperation with one another. The eliminate selfish or self-centeredness among students as individuals. Students' motivation and initiative is an important indicator of a healthy classroom environment. I just would like to at the end just watch this video so we can sum up. Here again Nikum. Here I would, before I start this video, this is the end one, so no need to be very. What is a teacher can do? Identifying the challenges, specifying the students, and creating that compatibility to bring the changes in him or her is a greater challenges before us that must have to be worst. It is very clearly
big enough to sail our boats.
एक कुएं में रहता था
कुएं में रहता
मेंढक
था
का साझा
मेंढक का साझा परिवार से
दादी मेंढक
in the moonlight. Mighty nice.
Mighty nice.
वेरी गुड. अब 3 जोड़ो. वेरी गुड. अभी इसमें 5 जोड़ो. कहाँ पहुंचे? वेरी गुड. अभी 11 कम से.
Henny penny. They set off to a nose between each pair of eyes. Noses every size. कोयल है चिड़ियों की रानी, कभी सुनी है उसकी वाणी?
Simbad was dazzled by multicolored lights.
Were made of cake and chocolate.
So thank you for watching a little space and care could really do wonder, which is already before you. So thank you for patient hearing. And any questions from you? Any queries, please? You can use your chat box. No queries? You can see what is the Mentimeter being created by you. So lovely. It is really a nice, very participation really made this session very worth one. Thank you so much. Any of you wish to ask anything or wish to share something are requested. Can use the chat box. If you want to unmute yourself, I would like to request now Chandan ji to
No
check.
one have problems.
No
Because
problems.
हम लोगों ने जैसे अटेंडेंस डाल दिया, शायद
Okay.
1/4 ही अभी पार्टिसिपेंट्स हैं, वो भी सिर्फ अटेंडेंस बनाने के लिए रुके पड़े.
Okay, fine, sir. Thank you.
Thank you for nice session, ma'am.
Thank you. I was just trying to complete it, but initially a little bit 5-10 minutes was. I think Chandanji was not ready perhaps that time, so it was taking 10 minutes there.
Yes, ma'am.
So I hope hopefully it is done. It is completed in time. When somehow expected time is done. So can I leave now?
Yes, ma'am. Please.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you all the participants. Those are still there. Thank you for the nice and patient hearing for a long time.